Ladies and gentlemen, prepare your eyes for the ultimate cringe. I'm Ethan Blake, and tonight we tackle a speech so packed with contradictions it could qualify as modern art. The delivery, flawless. The content, flawed beyond recognition. We'll dissect the drama, mock the moralizing, and unpack the unearned confidence one punchline at a time. This isn't reporting, it's stand-up with citations. So sit tight, hold your applause, and let's shred this masterpiece of manufactured outrage before they try to call it bravery.
Misinformation, sometimes, which is coming from everybody. It's, no one has a monopoly on it. Or just power. It's just power.
Monopoly on it. Come on. That's some moral relativism right there.
I said nobody has a monopoly.
You said nobody has a monopoly on it, but that's like saying nobody has a monopoly on being a billionaire. He's got that monopoly up here. I mean, he's got more money than us. A lot more money than us. So,
I don't get the...
You don't get it?
I don't know what point you're making. The right thinks that the left is in a very different place with free speech than they have been before, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. This is arrogant. You don't punish somebody. It would be like if we stopped Henry Ford from making the cars.
It's honestly frustrating how the woke left acts like the presidency is their birthright. The Trump derangement syndrome has reached absurd levels, and it's exhausting everyone, Bill Maher included. Recently, Maher called out MSNBC's Joe Scarborough, slamming him for his over-the-top, ridiculous claims. And trust us, Maher didn't hold back. We've got all the details on that fiery takedown coming right up. But before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of our updates and bold commentary. Now let's dive in and break down exactly what went down between Maher and Scarborough.
Here's where the rubber meets the road, because this is important. He wanted to, this week, he's suing the 12-member commission, the California Coastal Commission. He launches his rockets from Vandenberg Space Force Base. We used to call it Air Force Base, but I guess now we're into Space Force time. He wanted the proposal to expand the number of launches. Okay, again, one of the most impressive companies, an American company. He wants a little more, give it to him. No. The commission, some bureaucrat, said nope, and this is the reason why. Commissioner Carol Hart saying, we're dealing with a company, the head of which has aggressively injected himself into the presidential race and made it clear what his point of view is. Yes, because he lives in America, and he can do that.
The Democrats' hypocrisy has become downright nauseating. Let's talk about Elon Musk, one of the most innovative minds of our era. He's revolutionizing electric vehicles, launching rockets into space, developing artificial intelligence, and even exploring brain-computer interfaces. Musk isn't working for Democrats or Republicans. He's working for the future of humanity. And yet, his political opinions have made him a target. Enter the FAA, run by career bureaucrats who likely have Obama portraits hanging in their offices. Musk requested approval to launch more rockets, an initiative that clearly advances America's technological edge. But suddenly, there's red tape. Suddenly, there are concerns. Suddenly, delays. Why? Because Musk dared to show support for Donald Trump. That's right, his crime wasn't breaking rules. It was wrongthink. And Bill Maher, he saw straight through it. Musk is an American citizen, and like every other entrepreneur, he has the right to push progress forward without political punishment. But the deeper question is, why did Musk, a lifelong Democrat, flip? The answer is simple. The party that once stood for science, progress, and innovation has transformed into a party of wokeness, censorship, and cancel culture. And Elon Musk? He's not the kind of guy who wears a leash.
The right thinks that the left is in a very different place with free speech than they have been before, and they're not wrong. They're not wrong. This is arrogant. You don't punish somebody. It would be like if we stopped Henry Ford from making the cars because we didn't like what
but can you take one anecdotal example? One idiot, right? Truly an idiot to stop.
This is not an idiot. This is someone with power.
An idiot with power is not unusual.
Okay, but that's...
Right.
No, but having power matters.
Once again, Bill Maher isn't wrong. The modern left is treading a dangerous path when it comes to free speech. Their relentless obsession with controlling, censoring, and policing language isn't just troubling, it's blatantly authoritarian. They're not interested in open debate or respectful disagreement. What they really crave is submission. That's why Elon Musk has become public enemy number one. He's not just another tech billionaire. He's a billionaire who refuses to play by their rules. He bought Twitter and in doing so, disrupted the left's monopoly over digital narratives. That alone was enough to trigger panic among the speech policing elite. Ironically, it used to be the right that was accused of being anti-free speech. But now, it's the so-called progressives pushing censorship harder than ever. The Founding Fathers would be horrified. These were men who risked everything to fight tyranny and resist government overreach. Now, their legacy is being twisted by those claiming to stand for freedom. Censorship is not progress. Silencing dissent is not democracy. And when someone like Bill Maher, a lifelong liberal and longtime voice of the left, starts calling out this madness, it's a clear sign that things have gone too far. And here's where it all gets even more interesting.
Misinformation, sometimes which is coming from everybody. It's, no one has a monopoly on it. Or just power.
You're saying nobody
It's just
has a
power.
monopoly on it. Come on. That's some moral relativism right there.
I said nobody has a monopoly.
You said nobody has a monopoly on it, but that's like saying nobody has a monopoly on being a billionaire. He's got that monopoly up here. I mean, he's got more money than us, a lot more money than us. So,
I don't get the.
You don't get it?
I don't know what point you're making.
Exactly. I'm honestly struggling to figure out what point Joe Scarborough was even trying to make, if there was one at all. But am I surprised? Not in the slightest. That's the woke left's entire playbook. Talk in circles, throw around impressive-sounding buzzwords, and hope no one catches the contradictions. So here we have Scarborough, MSNBC's go-to serious thinker, making the bold claim that the right holds a monopoly on misinformation. That's a huge accusation. But when Bill Maher pushed him for an example, Scarborough's big showstopper was Mark Cuban. Seriously? Mark Cuban? Sure, Cuban might have been the wealthiest guy on that panel, but since when does being rich equate to being the gatekeeper of truth or legitimacy? America has more billionaires than we can count. Cuban's wealth doesn't make him uniquely insightful or a rebuttal to Maher's point. And just like Maher, I had no clue what Scarborough was even arguing. Let's be honest. Misinformation isn't confined to one party. It exists on the right, the left, and everywhere in between. No ideology or media outlet is completely innocent. But pretending your side is a shining example of truth while labeling the other as a pit of lies? That's not just dishonest, it's peak hypocrisy. And if Scarborough excels at anything, it's exactly that.
You're saying it's both sides, isn't it?
Well,
there is no doubt.
There's no misinformation.
There's some disinformation from the left, but comparing it to what Donald Trump spews out every day, every week, comparing it to what Elon Musk is spewing out, unfortunately, on X, you sound like Brett Stevens now, with all due respect. It's a joke. That's a real-time.
And you sound like him, who looks like Rachel Maddow.
This is hypocrisy at its absolute finest. MSNBC, the self-declared beacon of truth, wants you to believe that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the sole purveyors of disinformation. Because, of course, the woke media never lies, right? Let's rewind. Remember when they swore Hunter Biden's laptop was just Russian disinformation? That narrative was pushed so hard, it felt like MSNBC had the FBI on speed dial. Turns out the laptop was real, but by the time they quietly acknowledged it, the damage had been done. The truth was buried beneath a mountain of media spin and partisan deflection. And how could we forget the infamous Steele dossier? MSNBC treated it like sacred scripture, the ultimate proof of Trump-Russia collusion. They dissected it on prime time, breathlessly reporting every detail as gospel. Then, it collapsed. It was debunked, discredited. But did MSNBC offer an apology or correction? Of course not. They simply pivoted to the next narrative without blinking. Then there's the COVID lab leak theory. For months, MSNBC hosts mocked it, called it a conspiracy, and ridiculed anyone who dared to question the official story. But when US intelligence agencies began taking it seriously, MSNBC suddenly had selective amnesia. No accountability, no retraction, just silence. Yet somehow, they still insist Trump and Musk are the kings of disinformation. That's rich. And now, here we go again. MSNBC's own John Heilemann parroted the same tired line until Russell Brand called him out on air, exposing the double standards in real time. MSNBC continues to sell itself as the ultimate guardian of truth, even when their track record tells a very different story. The real question is, how long will viewers keep buying it?
John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective.
This Trump, and now Elon Musk, derangement syndrome isn't just random hysteria. It's a calculated, well-oiled machine designed to turn them into public enemy number one. The strategy is simple. Strip them of credibility, paint them as villains, and ensure the public views them as threats to democracy. Take Elon Musk, for example. One harmless gesture, completely lacking context, was twisted by the media into a supposed Nazi salute. No investigation, no benefit of the doubt, just instant, coordinated outrage. And then there's Trump, subject to constant comparisons with Hitler. Every speech, every policy move, no matter how mundane, would trigger another headline claiming, "This is how it began." This isn't journalism, it's propaganda. Woke media outlets are no longer simply reporting facts. They're actively crafting a narrative. They cherry-pick sound bites, distort context, and even fabricate details to keep Trump and Musk locked in a permanent state of media prosecution. And when facts challenge the story, they just move the goalposts. The mission is clear: derail the MAGA movement, silence dissenting voices, and advance their political agenda. Truth be damned. What we're witnessing isn't just bias, it's narrative warfare masquerading as news coverage.
But I also think at the same time, there is a message of what I would call like common sense, patriotic pluralism.
Yeah.
That is a majority message, which is like, if some father and mother have healthcare for their kid lined up who's trans, just stay the fuck out of their business. Let them make that decision. That's their decision to make. And you don't have to make that for your family. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your family.
But the argument is whether the child should make the decision.
But the child is never making the decision. The parents are always making the decision. Parents consent to medical care.
Well, here in California, you're allowed to hide it from the parents if the kid is...
Yes,
Thank you, one person who knows that.
But I mean...
Somebody knows that is the case.
Another classic case of misinformation. It's no secret, actually, it's well documented, that some schools have been working with students to hide their gender transitions from parents. There are documents, whistleblower testimonies, and even lawsuits to prove it. Yet, here comes Chris Hayes of MSNBC, looking straight into the camera and dismissing it all as a right-wing conspiracy. And we're supposed to believe MSNBC isn't biased. Joe Scarborough and his panel act like their network is the ultimate authority on truth, all while ignoring legitimate reports, dismissing parental concerns, and gaslighting anyone who questions the approved narrative. This is how the media game works. They don't just spin stories, they rewrite reality. When facts don't support their agenda, they simply declare those facts false. If you push back, you're immediately labeled a bigot, a conspiracy theorist, or worse. That's the playbook, and they run it like clockwork. More and more Americans are waking up to this pattern. The bias isn't subtle, it's blatant. And now, people are finally starting to call MSNBC out for it. Stay tuned, because what we're about to show you next makes their spin even harder to defend.
You know what would be good at MSNBC is if you actually did think about both sides and weighed the arguments and made constructive arguments against that side while respecting them. You don't do that. It's propaganda all the time.
What you just said,
by denying any...
What you just said just described my show. So I had a Trump lawyer on this week. I've had Steve Bannon on my show. I've had Trump White House officials.
I watch MSNBC.
Right, so you describing a goal that I'm achieving, I take that as a compliment.
I don't know about you, but I'm beyond tired of MSNBC's go-to defense. We have conservatives on our show, as if parading out a token right-wing guest every now and then magically makes them fair and balanced. That's not the issue. The real issue is whether they report facts or just deliver carefully curated narratives that serve their agenda. Let's be honest. We all know how this works. They invite so-called conservative voices, but only the ones who are willing to play by MSNBC's rules. The second a guest steps out of line and actually challenges the prevailing narrative, chaos breaks loose. Take the clip we just watched, for example. Andrew Sullivan went head-to-head with an MSNBC host, tearing into them for pushing propaganda over journalism. He wasn't playing along, and it showed. MSNBC doesn't want genuine debate. They want controlled opposition. They want yes men who nod politely, not independent thinkers who expose their bias. When someone dares to push back, they're either talked over, smeared, or quietly blacklisted from ever coming back. It's not about real discussion, it's about maintaining the illusion of diversity while ensuring their narrative stays firmly in place. And viewers are starting to see right through it.
And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, I would, the moment,
fight them on a territory you can win on, Joe.
Russell, darling.
If MSNBC ever wants to regain credibility, it needs to come down from its pedestal and drop the holier-than-thou act. Pretending to be the beacon of truth while conveniently ignoring its own history of misinformation isn't fooling anyone. The first step, own up to the propaganda they've pushed in the past. But acknowledgement alone won't cut it. MSNBC needs to move beyond partisan spin and commit to actual journalism, where both sides of the political spectrum are given a fair shot, not just the voices that reinforce their narrative. That means holding all leaders accountable, not just Republicans. They shouldn't suddenly rediscover their moral outrage only when Trump is in office, then go silent the moment Democrats are back in charge. If they truly care about democracy, they must be willing to challenge both sides with equal vigor. Anything less, and they're not a news network, they're just another political mouthpiece in disguise. Until that happens, viewers will continue to lose trust. Journalism should be about truth, not tribalism. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time for more honest, unfiltered commentary.